So, a recent post on VG Chartz claims that Doom on Nintendo Switch sold about 81,000 copies during its first week at retail. Certainly not the strongest number, I'll give you that. But of course, this has already stirred some of the Nintendo doomed type arguments, which, if you're going to use Nintendo Doom, I guess there's no better place than here. The arguments arise, the big third-party, multi-platform stuff won't be able to succeed on the Switch, etc. Well, I'll say, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. First, let's talk about why this game, being a solid title, may have sold poorly. We'll do some excuse-making for Nintendo and Bethesda. For one, this is at retail. This doesn't count sales made on the eShop. I feel like for the Switch, those digital sales are going to be fairly important because I think most people who are gaming a lot on the Switch are surely going to purchase additional storage and probably aren't looking to carry a case of games around with them. Again, not to say those retail sales mean nothing. The game did 455k on the PS4 and 205k on the Xbox One at retail during its first week when it released on those systems. So no one is going to argue that there wasn't a drop-off, a steep one. Let's also not forget this was in the Switch's first year, while it was still growing its install base. And it did come out on those other consoles as well as PC a year before, in 2016. Actually, I think it originally came out in May, so more than a year before. That gave people a lot of time to buy and play the game before it released on the Switch, but also not a lot of time to miss it. This is where I think a game like Skyrim may fare better because if you played it when it originally came out, you may not have played it for a while. Obviously, with Skyrim, there's like a new release of it every other week, so perhaps that's not the case. But I feel like Doom may have been in this weird spot for many people, where it's like they had kind of just played it fairly recently, and even if they bought a Switch, it probably wasn't high on their priorities to play again. Certainly, when you got games like Mario and Zelda, that obviously there's never been a way to play them before, I could see why Doom would quickly fall down that list of games people want to buy. Also, and this is a problem I've raised with these ports to Nintendo Switch from the beginning, the price. If you're someone who owns more than one platform, say you haven't bought Doom on anything yet, I think it's going to be hard for many people to look at the $60 price tag of the Switch version next to the heavily discounted others. I've seen the game for as low as like $15 in stores on the PS4 and Xbox One. And yes, the Switch version is portable, but the sacrifice is that it's a lesser version. Yeah, I've praised how well the game holds up on the Switch. I love playing the game in handheld mode. But I'm also not going to claim that it's even near the same level of graphical quality or performance as the PS4 and Xbox One. Again, for perhaps as much as 4 times the cost of what you could get it for on those other systems. I think that's a pretty tough sell for your average consumer, and it's a problem Nintendo and their partners are going to have to find a way to deal with because it's not going away. I think we're certainly in for many more third-party ports. And if people can buy them for a fraction of a cost on the competing platforms, I think it's going to be a problem. I think it's going to continue to be a problem. Beyond that, I think Nintendo needs to work more with these third parties in promoting the games on the Switch. Like, I know the main focus in the ads are first-party games and the exclusives mostly, but I actually feel like I've seen quite a bit for Skyrim, certainly more than Doom. Again, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how these numbers compare for both of these Bethesda ports, Skyrim and Doom. Skyrim also had the exclusive Nintendo content with the Link costume, Master Sword, and that. Sure, they were little things, but they were little things you couldn't have on other platforms, well, except for the PC, where you can have pretty much anything in that game. But it was also something they could use in the ads. Whenever you saw a Skyrim on Switch ad, they'd show like the motion controls and also, the guy running around in that Link costume with the Master Sword and that. So it helps, I feel like, in the promotion, because you can attention grab that Nintendo audience and be like, hey, look, and you can kind of make it a little bit like Zelda. Again, not a big thing, but it matters. However you slice it, this wasn't a great sales performance for Doom. Sure, we can throw out all these excuses I've mentioned and more to undercut, to underplay how low these sales were, but no one on either side, like, let's agree here, no one on either side is going to be overly impressed with the sales of this game at the end of the day. I'm certainly not saying this spells doom for third parties or even relations between Nintendo and Bethesda specifically, but something needs to happen to pick these numbers up down the line. Since they first announced their original lineup of games they had coming for the Switch, I stated Bethesda, they should be applauded with how much support they're throwing to this system right out of the gate. But if these games don't perform well, and then Bethesda decides to dial back or even cut their support for the system, can you really blame them? It's not like they didn't try. They brought some quality games over. We still have Wolfenstein 2 coming next year for sure. So it's not like they ported over trash. It's not like they just took some crap games and whipped them together. These games certainly ran well. I mean, I'm not saying they're the best versions of the game, but it's not like they just slapped together a quick dirty port. This isn't WWE 2K18, okay? I'd like to see them continue to support the platform, so hopefully things pick up. Again, we don't know the digital sales, if things improved through the holidays or stuff like that. So even the story of Doom on the Switch isn't actually over yet. At the same time though, it's hardly an impressive start. And with that, this video is a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the sales of Doom on the Nintendo Switch in the comments. How do you think things could have been improved? As always, I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.